I'm Di, and today I am bringing you my January wrap-up. In January, I read 9 things, so let's just get into it. I started the month off with the TBR Takedown 3.0 readathon hosted by Shannon at Leaning Lights. I already wrapped up the books that I read during the readathon in a separate video, so I will go ahead and link that if you'd like to see my thoughts on the books. And what I read during the readathon was The Runaways, Volume 1, Pride and Joy by Brian K. Vaughan and Alfred Alfona. This I read as an e-comic on Scribd. Then I read Guilty Pleasures by Laurell K. Hamilton. This is the first book in the Anita Blake Vampire Hunter series. I buddy read this with Janice at Janice. And lastly, I read Pirate Latitudes by Michael Crichton. So you can find my thoughts on all 3 of these books in the video linked below. After the readathon was over, I had a buddy read with Latin Lecter, and we read Dust and Decay, which is the second novel in the Benny Imura series by Jonathan Mayberry. This, I can't really go into what was going on because it is a sequel, but it is a novel about zombies, and our main character Benny is a teenager, and his older brother Tom is a well-known zombie hunter, but he doesn't hunt zombies the way others do. He has a method that he calls silencing, and it's more of a humane, I guess, way of dealing with the zombies, and he teaches Benny his way of doing things. This novel follows the events of book 1, which was Rotten Ruin. I, again, really enjoyed this book. I really connected with a lot of things that happened. There was more suspense in this installment, as well as more heart-wrenching situations, which I really enjoyed. And overall, I think that this installment I enjoyed even more than the first installment, and I ended up giving this book 5 stars. Next, I did a buddy read with Janie at the Bookworms Buddy, and we buddy read The Scorpio Races by Maggie Stiefvater. This is a standalone fantasy novel, and it follows 2 of our main characters, Puck, who is the first female to be competing in the races, and Sean, who is the 4-time winner of the Scorpio races. This story is mostly about the preparation leading up to the races and the reasons both Puck and Sean are competing in the races. I had tried to read Maggie Stiefvater's The Raven Boys several years ago. I listened to it on audiobook because I got it for free from the Sync audiobook summer reading program, and I just did not enjoy it. I don't even know how far I got into it before I put it on the side, but I've always wanted to try to go back to it, and I thought maybe since The Scorpio Races is a standalone novel, I should try that. And luckily Janie had just picked up a copy in one of her recent book hauls, so I thought buddy reading it with someone, even if I wasn't enjoying it as much, would help me get through it. And this book was actually pretty slow going for me. I started off on an ebook copy which I borrowed from the library, and this book alternates points of view between Puck and Sean each chapter. And so reading it, I was constantly going back to see, okay, whose point of view are we in now? Because I was getting confused. So I switched to audiobook. I used one of my credits from Scribd to unlock the audiobook version of it. And I think it really helped because it did have a female narrator and a male narrator. So I always knew which point of view I was in. This book read more like a historical fiction type novel as opposed to a fantasy novel. The only fantastical element that is in this book are the water horses, or the Kopalishkas, I think that's how you pronounce it. But other than that, there's no magic system, there's no other type of magic involved, it's just the water horses. Going into this book, I really thought that the story would be focused more about the race, but when we figured out that it was more about the preparation leading up to the race and then getting past the waiting for the race, I started to enjoy the story more. And I would say the last 40% of the book I really enjoyed. Things started to really pick up after the 40% mark, and of course the race was very exciting, and I thought that the end was fitting. All in all, I really did enjoy this book. I think it lands somewhere between a 3.5 and 4 stars for me, but because Goodreads doesn't offer half stars, I always round up, so it ended up with 4 stars. The next book I read was A Ghoul's Guide to Love and Murder, which is the 10th and final installment in the Ghost Hunters Mystery Series by Victoria Laurie. If you've watched my channel for a while, you know that I have talked about this series several times. It has been one of my most favorite series over the last couple years, and I'm really sad that it is over. This is a cozy mystery series about MJ, who is a psychic medium, and her best friend Gilly, and their adventures hunting ghosts in different parts of the world. I can't tell you exactly what this book is about, but I can tell you that I was not disappointed at all by it. The ending was very fitting, and I can understand why this is the last book in the series. I can tell you that a few of the more scarier spooks from previous installments do show up in this book. A little bit of a warning though, the author did do a crossover story with the characters in this book and the characters in her other series, which is the Abby Cooper Psychic Eye series. There was a slight spoiler as to what happened in that novel in this book. I have only read the first book in the Abby Cooper series so far, but I wasn't bothered by the spoiler. It wasn't like a huge revelation, so just a little warning in case you are very sensitive to those things. But I really did enjoy this installment as well. I am so sad that it is over, and I did give this one 5 stars. The next book I read was Armada by Ernest Cline. This is a story about Zach. He is a teenager who likes to play this video game called Armada. Armada is a mission type online game where you save the Earth from an alien attack. He's been playing Armada for a while, and he's very good at it. He's ranked 6th internationally. One day at school, he sees a spaceship flying outside the window. He thinks he's seeing things. Some time goes by, and it turns out that Armada was actually a training module for people the government was recruiting for an actual impending alien attack. Now, I had heard not too great things about this book prior to going into it. Most of the reviews that I had heard, though, were from people who had already read the author's previous novel, Ready Player One. Now, because I knew I was getting this book for review from Blogging for Books, I specifically avoided reading Ready Player One until after I read this book, because I didn't want to be able to compare the author's prior work to this one. I wanted to be able to form my own opinion about this book on its own merit. I do have to say that I am glad that I did that because I did really enjoy this book. Now, that being said, I did have a hard time getting into it. It was very slow for me in the beginning. I ended up reading like 19 pages and then putting it aside and forgetting about it because there was a lot of just dumb high school situations going on and I just wasn't interested. But I had been on my library's Overdrive waiting list for months for this book because I heard that Wil Wheaton does an amazing narration. And so I really wanted to have that experience while reading this. And so I happened to be at my library picking up A Ghoul's Guide to Love and Murder, and they happened to have a copy on CD. So I just went ahead and picked that up and started listening to it, and it helped so much. If it wasn't for Wil Wheaton, I probably would have taken forever to finally get to the place in the book where the story started taking off for me. I did get a lot of the 80s references, and so that made it really fun. I think I read about 50% out of the physical book and listened to 50%. So it was an equal mix of reading and listening. And I just really enjoyed the story. I was a little disappointed with something that happened at the end, but overall the story was very fun, and I ended up giving this one 4 stars. Now I know I said I read 9 things this month, and the last 2 things were mangas, but there were 2 of 3 that I have in a series, and it is the manga Blackbird, which I have been reading for a few months now. I didn't get to the 3rd volume before the end of the month, so I kind of want to read that one and review them all for you together. And I do have a stack of other mangas from the library. So I think what I'm going to do is when I'm done with the stack of mangas, I will just review all of the mangas in a separate video. That way I can keep the reviews for the 3 volumes of Blackbird together instead of having to separate them out. And that does it for the books that I read in January. So as far as my reading goals go, I was participating in Rock My TBR, which was to read a book from my physical shelf every month, and then I said I was going to up that to include a book from Scribd or Kindle Unlimited. So I did read 3 books from my physical shelf. I read 3 books from Scribd, and then I'm also participating in finishing the series, which is to finish 3 to 6 series this year, and I did complete 1 series this month, which was the Ghost Hunters Mystery series, and I read 1 volume towards finishing a series which was Dust and Decay Volume 2 of the Rotten Ruin series by Jonathan Mayberry. So all in all, I think I did pretty well this month, though I am way ahead of schedule for my 52 books, which means I didn't do well in managing time for my hobbies, but maybe because I'm already starting the year off ahead, that will give me some time to not read as much should I not feel up to it. So we'll see how that goes. But how did you do this month? What kinds of books did you read? Have you read any of the books that I did? Or just let me know what your favorite book of the month was. I'm always looking for great recommendations, so I hope to hear from you guys in the comments below. As always, I hope you're all doing great, and until next time, take care and smile always. Bye.